Right, I'm back doing another video. This time I'm doing a melodic analysis of the song Marryuna. It's part of the Unit 3 ATAR identities. Now, talking about melody, it can be easier to play a melody, but it can be very hard to talk about a melody. So my first couple of things are a little tip here on talking about melody and to think about these concepts. First off, what is it a part of? What's the melody a part of? So it's part of the form, it's part of the style or the meaning. And then what are the parts of the melody? So it has scales and intervals and phrases. And I would argue that over this side, that's how you write about melodies using these kind of music element words. So hopefully that helps, and I'll try and do it that way myself. So first off, we're going to look at form. It's relatively easy. We've got a verse, chorus, and a tag. Depends how you label those, but they all have distinct, separate type of melodies. So we would call this song form. Oh, look at my writing is so bad. But song form in contemporary music means verse, chorus, tag, bridge, that kind of thing. Song form in Western art music means something completely else. Let's move on. This sort of melodic refrain is the introduction, but it is also, it's almost a hook or a chorus in itself because it's repeated quite often throughout the song. So yeah, what is it? I'm not sure. Perhaps just a hook, something like that. Looking at the verse, obviously the thing that stands out is that we don't really have a melody. We have a single note being played the whole way through with the occasional octave difference. And we also have, it's not always sung by one person. You know, some of these phrases, I don't know, perhaps, so Arnhem Land may be said by 5 people instead of just the one lead vocal. So there's a bit of that going on there. All right, let's get into some weeds regarding lyrics. So if we took this word education, and this is how the dictionary pronounces it, that means that this word here, the bold word, is where the emphasis in the word is, so education. And in traditional songwriting, that means that there should be on a strong beat, so on beat 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. The emphasis of the word goes with the emphasis of the bar. Now, what happens here is you can see over here, this is put on a off beat, you know, and it happens over here again. And so even though this is all 16th notes going 16th, da 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 da, when you add the lyric emphasis in there, really this is violently syncopated, and it's why it sounds good, because if you lined it all up traditionally so that it all fits on the strong beats, it would sound really naff. And often when you're doing your own raps, that's why it sounds a bit off, because really you want to get these emphasized parts of the word into some interesting places in the bar. Being a rapper myself, I was going to go there. I can't. I'm not a rapper. What am I talking about? All right, moving on. Okay, melody in the chorus. I'm going to talk about phrases here. So there's a few ways to think about this. First off, we could say that there's one 4-bar phrase from here to here. We could then say perhaps there's another phrase from here to here, and then another phrase from here to here. So I guess that's one way of thinking about it. But to be fair, so this part here and this part here are the same, and maybe that's the same, and maybe this part and this part are the same, but they're not really, you know. So I think it's a really interesting case to be made for this is actually one 8-bar phrase of melody, which is, I think, really interesting. It changes and it's different every time. So I think I would be saying this is an 8-bar phrase melody. You could probably get away with saying it's a 4-bar, then a 2-bar, as I just mentioned. Now, the next thing would be that if you analyze the notes in the scale, we've got F, B flat, A flat, C, and E flat, which you could hopefully work out is F minor pentatonic. So it's made up of a minor pentatonic scale. And the last sort of interesting thing I think about this melody is the fact that it ends on the 5th. As opposed to ending down here on the tonic. If it ended on the tonic, it would sound very, very resolved, but the fact that it ends up on the 5th really pushes you into the next section nicely. So pretty interesting chorus melody there. It's a very interesting chorus melody. Let's move on. Okay, so when we get into the tag or the dance break, or you could maybe call this the chorus, it depends how you're going to label things, we get this gang vocal melody. So gang vocal means a bunch of people singing the same thing, or a gang of people singing the same thing, but not a violent gang. And again, we've got a pentatonic melody. If you look at all these notes, we've got a pentatonic melody here. Where's the last one? Where's F there? We've probably got a phrase there, and then we've probably got the response to that phrase. So it'd be call response, and then call response. And it's really, really resolved, right? You can see that, you know, it's ending here. If you go and listen to that, you can hear it's super, super resolved and finished and finite, and this is the end of that section. So yeah, it's quite an interesting melody, and it's really, really catchy, and I think it's catchy because it's super balanced. All right, moving on. I didn't really have a slide for this because it's a bit hard, but an overall theme of this song is the contrast between that verse melody, which is just one note, and the very, very singable melody of the chorus and the tag. So if you're talking about the melody as an overall structure, I think that's worth mentioning at some point. Oh, I'm up to the questions. I'm getting quicker at these videos. Now, these are some easy questions at, you know, 3 marks. Hopefully you can remember. F minor. How many phrases in the chorus, or mark the phrases in the chorus using slurs? Yeah, so you can give that a go. Name the form of the song. So we'd say verse, chorus, tag, or something like that, however you've labeled it. Maybe give bar numbers if you're unsure. If you thought someone was going to mark you wrong, I'd go verse, bar 3, chorus, bar, something or other. That's the way to answer that. And then we got some more complicated questions down here, which I think are probably better questions. Explain how the minor pentatonic scale in the chorus adds to the overall meaning of the song. So I would be going something like the minor pentatonic scale is really accessible and encourages people to sing it. So it encourages people to come together, which is a value that comes through the song. Something like that. I talked about this one here. Describe the contrast in the melody. So that's a nice, an easy question to write. It's hard to answer because you need to use some of the things I talked about right at the start, which is like you need to talk about scales and intervals, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to write intervals, waste my time. And what I talked about in the verse, the last question is explain the non-traditional use of emphasis in the lyrics of the verse. So the way that the lyrics create a really strong syncopation in that 16th rhythm. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you, and I'll see you soon.